What's up, DAW Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Behind the DAW. And in this week's episode, we have Nolan Atkins, also known as Amidy. Now, if you don't know Amidy, stop it. He is an amazing producer, vocalist. He's done collaborations with people like Seven Lions, Excision, AU5, Halion, Midas, Ganja White Knight, Wooli, Blastoise, William Black, Asora, Armin Hammer, and a bunch of other people. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about things like how being a vocalist and a producer gives you a massive advantage in the scene, developing the skill of creating without expectations, the pros and the cons of tour life, and how having a supportive partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband, can be a literal lifesaver when it comes to your career. And as always, we have a free download down in the description. And if you like this episode, then you are going to love the golden vocal system from Matthew Steeper. First off, if you don't know who Matthew Steeper is, you do. He's been on basically every song you've listened to in EDM. Hyperbole? Probably. But it doesn't matter. He's been everywhere. He has over 2 billion streams. He's done vocals for people like Elenium, Seven Lions, Excision, Said the Sky, AU5. I mean, the list is just, it's enormous. For the first time ever, Matthew Steeper shares his 10-step vocal production system from taking a unpolished raw vocal into making it into an industry standard. This is the same system that he has used on all of his songs for the biggest names in EDM. It is a super simple, super easy to follow course, and you can find a link down to it down in the description. And I don't know how I forgot to mention this, but he does all of Halion's vocals. She even makes a ton of features inside of the course. So if you want to take your levels to the next vocal, that's not right. If you want to take your vocals to the next level, go ahead and click the link down in the description or head on over to dawnation.net/golden. DAW Nation, with all that out of the way, let's go behind the DAW with Amidy. I want to welcome you back to another episode of Behind the DAW, and today we have Nolan Atkins, also known as Amidy. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Me and Nolan, we go way back. Him and I, we went to Icon Collective together. Also, the Icon just shut down. Oh, Nolan.
I know. I heard about that, and that was actually really devastating. That was actually one of my favorite years. I loved the whole experience, and so to hear that was ending really, really sad in my heart.
I know this was not planned. We did not plan on talking about this, but here we are. Do you know what happened? I don't know what happened. It was so sudden.
I wish I had a little bit more info on that, but no, it literally out of the blue.
Man, if you ever want a case study about not knowing the effect that you have on people, because there weren't people every day online on Facebook, Instagram, preaching Icon, saying, oh, it's the greatest thing in the world. But I'll tell you what, as soon as it disappeared, everyone started saying that. And so maybe we could take that nice little concept into our own lives and be like, if we disappeared right now, how many people would be devastated? I know a lot of people would be devastated about Amidy leaving. Dude, don't do it. But Nolan, regardless, my guy, if you'd be so kind, could you tell DAW Nation what is one of the worst decisions that you've made for your music career?
I feel like I've always been an advocate of no matter the mistake or bad decision or thing you do that you think is wrong, it always leads us into a better path or a way of learning to not make that mistake again. Because I mean, literally the whole music industry and being in this career path is just full of mistakes. You're going to get a lot of no's. You're going to get a lot of failures. You're going to make a lot of bad moves. And I feel like I've honestly made so many that I can't even think of one. It's like I'm racking my brain right now trying to think of one mistake that sticks out. I've thought about it. One mistake that I wish I stuck with guitar. I can play it, but I wish that I could just rip some solos at shows. And maybe that's going to be my mistake that I learn from and actually follow through and learn some guitar. I grew up playing piano, did some classes and stuff with guitar, but I never followed through with it. And I wish I did, because I'm really bummed, because I love the guitar. It's a beautiful instrument, and that could definitely be something that I learn next. amongst all the different hats and things that I wear.
Do you see someone like Trifecta that's shredding at the show and you're like, yeah, that?
Oh, yeah. It'd be sick. Like, because I think about like, oh, man, because like I already sing live at my shows. What if I'm ripping guitar and singing and playing some like drum pads and stuff? Like that would be such a fun experience. And I think that would be super cool to do.
On a business aspect, that increases your value as the performer, right? Because can you talk about that a little bit with you not just being like a traditional DJ, right? You perform at your shows, you're singing there.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that gives you a significant edge with performance, with getting booked and stuff like that? Because you are a performer now. You're not just a curator of songs.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, I definitely think it comes down to a lot of music and things that I'm doing on the music side, but also having a unique experience that I'm able to bring to people is definitely an edge. I think it's a great experience because I'm able to constantly, because the way that I make my sets is that I'm constantly weaving in and out of DJing, singing live, DJing, singing live. So it's a constant balance of not too much of one, too much of the other. It's a nice balance of both, and they work very cohesively. And so the fact that I'm able to do the DJ stuff and have more of the really high energy, do the dubstep. Why am I saying it like that?
You do the dubstep.
I do the dubstep. And then jump around and then come to the front of the stage and sing along to my songs. I'm able to have that actual intimate moment with fans coming to the front of the stage, touching their hands, singing to them. Sometimes I even like to literally sit at the edge of the stage or the front of the stage and just kind of like be eye to eye with them. And it's just a really cool connecting experience with everyone that's there watching the show.
That's super cool. And I want to keep talking about this. I just need to mention to DAW Nation, make sure to stay all the way to the end if you're listening. If you're listening, of course you're listening. How could you be listening if you're not listening? But if you're listening, make sure to stay all the way to the end because we're going to be asking Amidy what is the best decision that he has made for his music career. But I want to keep asking this. So we have mutual friends, Matthew Steeper and Halian. And,
Yes.
I have some behind the scenes knowledge of the stress that comes with putting on a show where there is a vocalist. And I do wonder, there may be people wondering, it's like how much more stress is added on by bringing a live element to the performance, because there are a lot, it's the common DJ joke that you just show up and you put in a USB stick and people scream and just throw money and credit cards at you, and it's fantastic. So how much, how stressful is it to add a vocal element to a live performance? Is it worth it? I guess that's the other question to that.
Well, first of all, I totally think it is 100% worth it. I honestly sometimes feel awkward when I'm not singing because I feel like I'm not doing enough. Because to me, I'm a performer at heart and I love to be able to exert those emotions through singing. So that's, first of all, like it's totally worth it for me. It does add quite a bit of stress. There's a lot of equipment that comes with it that I have to bring and make sure I am not missing any bit of it. Because if I'm missing a piece of equipment, then it kind of crumbles the whole setup that I have. But yeah, it's not like a DJ setup where I just bring my headphones and USB, don't do any sound check, just show up 10 minutes before my set. No, I have to go like usually 2 to 3 hours before doors open, fully set up all my stuff, do a sound check that usually takes about an hour in total. And then after that, it's making sure that like I know my set, practicing it before the weekends, running through it, making sure I know the lyrics to my songs, especially to the new ones. Pretty much all the ones that have been around for a while, I know those super easy. But it's the new songs that always kind of throw a wrench in things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, am I gonna remember the lyrics? Actually, one crazy thing, here's a story. So I have my song with Ganja White Knight and Wooli called Rise Up. Amazing song. Love how that one turned out. But that one came together so quick. I think they asked me about it and I wrote to it and I wrote that one with Kelly actually, and we came up with that super quick, and I recorded that, and I think it was literally within like a week, 2 week span, we finished the song, and it was like a week before Lost Lands. And we're like, well, we need to perform it at Lost Lands. Like, come on. And I'm like, I don't know the words for this song. So literally through the week, I'm trying to prep for my set at Lost Lands while also trying to remember the lyrics for our new song. And I just remember waiting on stage during Ganja White Night's set. I have my Apple Notes with the lyrics on it, and I keep looking through, just kind of singing along. I'm like, okay, do I remember that? Like, okay, cool. I remember that section. Let's move on to the next section. And I'm like ready to go up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot all the lyrics. I like freaked out, had a complete blackout moment where I could not remember the words. And I was like, it's too late now. I have to go. I'm going up. We're making it work. And right when the first like, da, 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 right at the beginning, I was like, oh yeah, here we go. I got this. And that's happened to me before. So I knew to trust myself and not overthink it. Because when I overthink it, that's when I black out on lyrics. I freak out, I stress out, and it's just trusting the process and then knowing that you know the words, you just need to hear the song. That was really stressful.
Is there a time, I'm sure that's not the only time you forgot lyrics or maybe said something wrong. And so like when you do you kind of turn into a mumble rapper and you kind of like somewhat say the things, but...
Honestly, it's been very few times that I've actually forgotten lyrics while I'm singing the songs. There was one time to where I just kept singing during the verse. There was 2 stanzas or 2 lines, and I just repeated one line twice because I completely switched the order of the lyrics and the lines, and I was like, well, I guess we're just going to sing this twice. And as long as you don't show that like you're messing up, it doesn't sound like a mess up. You just kind of have to go with it and just keep running through it. But the crowd will know if you mess up, if you show that you're messing up. So you just have to keep running with it and just not let them know. But most of the time, honestly, like I can count on my hand the amount of times that I've forgot my lyrics. So luckily it's been very few and far in between.
That's a great piece of advice, not just for performing, but everything. Nothing is a mistake unless you show that it's a mistake, right? Everyone will, inherently wants to think the best of you, especially with your music stuff, and they just think that it's all purposeful. I remember watching Crywolf perform one time, and it was very clear. He had like some kind of MIDI controller to his chest that he was playing, and it's very clear to a music producer that there came a time where it came unplugged, all the lights turned off, and he just, dude, that kid just kept going. It looked like he was tickling his chest, and he had me sold.
Yep, just keep running with it.
That's a great piece of advice, which leads me to like a bigger concept and also a smaller concept, which is you were the second person ever to come on this podcast many years ago when we were some young gents, and a lot has changed since 2017. Like wow, I can't even begin to think about that right now. And so, back then you were not touring consistently. You were doing kind of one-off shows here and there. Oh my goodness, dude. What can you tell us about the tour life? What insight can you give us into that? You talked about performing and how it's amazing and not messing up, but what else can we know about the tour life?
I mean, yeah, it's crazy to look back to when we first did our interview, and I was maybe doing, I think, like five shows that year. So very, very few. And I was really just trying to get my foot in the door in the industry and try and figure things out. But now, yeah, it's been crazy. I've performed in almost every state in the US. I've performed in multiple countries. I was just in China, which is like, pinch me, I'm dreaming. Like, that is insane. That, like, I never one day thought that like my music would get to a point to where it would take me to China, like all the way on the other side of the world. It's just unbelievable. And Like I wasn't expecting to like have people know who I was there, but like it was insane. Like everyone was so nice and it was such a great experience. But to get back to how touring is and just like what it's about, it's tough. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely a lot of fun. There's a lot of highs and lows. It's great being able to perform, do what I love. On the other side of things that like I feel like a lot of people don't talk about, it is tough. Like you don't get a lot of sleep. Your sleep patterns are completely screwed up most of the time. You're flying in day of show and you land maybe like 4 hours before you have sound check. So you're just kind of getting acclimated in the area. You do the show, sleep for maybe 2-3 hours, and then you're right back heading to the airport to get home. So it's usually you're in a city for less than 24 hours. I feel like some people think that like, oh, you're there for like a couple days or so, like you get to check places out. No, it's like it's so quick that I don't get to experience the culture, the city, the people. Like it's so quick in and out. On the other side of things, it's pretty darn lonely. That's one thing that no one talks about. It's like the Justin Bieber song, Lonely. I just sitting there. Most of the time, what ends up happening is I'm grabbing dinner by myself, hanging out at the hotel in my hotel room, just waiting to go to the show. It's always amazing, though, when I play shows with friends, because then we just get to hang out and have a good time and just be together. It's a lot of traveling. I mean, the average person maybe flies once or twice a year, maybe. I am in a plane every weekend with like multiple flights. So it can definitely be overwhelming, but I mean, this is exactly what I asked for. So like, don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining about even like those are negatives. Like I feel so insanely blessed that I get to travel every weekend and get to see new cities, even though it's for a short amount of time. I get to say that like I've seen these places. I always try to like DoorDash some new like local food to my hotel so I can try the food in the area. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's kind of the encompassing of all of it. Like it's amazing and it's so cool to travel, but there's like other sides to it that like people don't notice about.
So Nolan has a wonderful wife. And so I'm assuming that a lot of the loneliness that you experience is, leaving her behind. I'm sure she can't come with every show. And so what's up? Do you got any tips and tricks about how to deal with that? Because, there's a lot of people that are listening to this and they're kind of scared. They don't want to leave their wife behind, their girlfriend behind, their boyfriend, their husband, their kids, their dogs, like with their plants. If you're blank, there's a lot of people that worry about that. So do you have any tips and tricks or insights about that?
Yeah, I am so lucky to have just a fully supportive, understanding wife. She knew getting into a relationship and marriage with me that I was like, hey, like there's going to be a time to where like I'm traveling a lot. And she knew that getting into this marriage with me, and she has been so insanely supportive with everything that I've done and with all my travels. And like, yeah, it's tough. It's definitely tough leaving your significant other because like you're experiencing these things in these new places. And all you can think about is like, oh my gosh, like this would be so awesome if my wife was here to experience this really cool milestone or city that I'm in, to be able to experience those things together and bond over those things. There's many times to where I'm thinking about that, but my end goal is obviously to get to a place to where she can come with me the majority of the time. Obviously, there's going to be shows that are just going to be like quick in and out kind of shows, but then for hopefully for the majority of shows that she can come with and experience this crazy life of touring with me a bit more. Like most of the time for like big shows, so like festivals, I'll always try and get her to come with me, especially like big milestone pieces. I really wanted to get her to come to China, but it just didn't work out with her work. She was already busy, and just like flights are insanely expensive to China. But like Bass Canyon, that was a huge milestone for me. I had been wanting to play at the Gorge ever since I started. And I was like, I don't care like how much it's going to be. Like, get time off of work and you're coming with. Like, let's go on this adventure together. And I'm so glad she did come with. Like, oh my gosh, we have crazy stories now, because like we experienced the whole weather massive storm that happened at the Gorge, and like we're running away from the storm trying to like stay safe and like not get hit by flying trash cans. And we randomly ended up in like Dion Timmer's green room, just hanging out with everyone, trying to stay safe from the storm. And it's just like experiences like that, even as crazy as they are, like it's things that like we now have like stories that we can talk about as we travel together. So hopefully that's the end goal.
I think that's something that is super important that anyone who's getting into this industry, this profession, absolutely needs to understand. It's the same if you're, not just as a music producer or a touring DJ or anything. If you're in any profession that requires you to leave for a certain amount of time, it's how freaking important it is to have someone that's going to back you up when you're doing this kind of stuff. I mean, do you think even for a second that you would be where you were at if your wife wasn't, even half of as supportive as she has been? You know what I mean? Can you even? She's absolutely a key ingredient to your success. Correct?
Absolutely. Number one supporter, always has my back, and has pushed me so much to become a better person, just a better producer, and honestly, just continue to put that drive in me even when I feel down. Because it's a roller coaster. The whole industry is a roller coaster, and like there's a lot of ups and downs. And so having someone to help you up when you're down and celebrate when you're up is kind of crucial. It's really important to have that steady person behind you.
I could foresee some of the listeners saying, well, actually, I heard that I shouldn't be focusing on anything else. I shouldn't be focusing on my relationships or anything like that, that those things could be a distraction to my music. I mean, what would you just say to someone that would respond with that?
Honestly, that's totally fair. I mean, every journey in music is different, and certain people thrive off of different experiences and routes. So for me, like having someone to help push me and be that external force to lift me up when I'm down, like that's kind of what I needed. I'm a sad boy. I'm a sensey boy, like I cry to my own music. So like I need someone to help lift me up when I'm down. And some people just don't need that. And that's totally okay. Like there are a ton of artists that are single, and like they are doing way better than I. Maybe that's because they don't have distractions, and that's totally okay. Like I think there's not one singular right way to go about things in the music industry, and I think that's kind of the beauty of it.
You're touring, you're doing wonderful things. Let's say you come home off tour from a show, whatever, and you're in the studio, you're creating, of course, because that's the cycle, right? You create the music to go play it out, to come home to create the music to go play it out. So one of the things that you mentioned is that you have recently been creating without expectation. That sounds so lovely. I have no idea how you do that. Tell us more.
Yeah, honestly, creating with expectation is a lot harder, a lot easier. Wait, no. What's the word? Easier said than done. There we go. That's what I was trying to pick my brain for. Easier said than done. Because as artists, we kind of get into our heads about things that are popular. Because like we hear what's trending, what's doing really well with streams. And our brain kind of naturally thinks of these things as like, oh, well, we need to do that and follow that. But also, as a melodic bass producer, I find myself, and I know a lot of other guys find themselves doing this as well, is that we kind of put walls up that we kind of have to stay in this melodic bass realm. And I think in this day and age, I feel like genres are becoming more fluid, and people are not really caring as much with artists going around to different genres and experimenting a bit more. And I think I was kind of getting to a place to where I felt like I was making a little bit of the same thing and wanting to experiment more. And I felt like once I let those walls down and stopped having that preconceived notion of like, oh, I need to produce the song this way or have these certain sounds or start it this way for it to stream well or be received well by the masses. And now just thinking, well, me being an artist, like what feeds me? Like I need to feed my emotions, my soul, like my brain of ideas that are popping out. And like a lot of the times I would kind of shut down ideas because I'm like, oh, you know what? No, that's not the route that I need to be going right now. Like let's push that to the side. And ever since I started doing that this year of not pushing that to the side, letting my walls down, and when I have an idea, flush it out, I've had more goosebumps moments than I've had in a very long, like I haven't had a goosebump moment in a while. And I've had multiple goosebump moments and it has been so satisfying. Like I'm starting to really feel the emotion in my music again. And I'm starting to feel those moments that I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is freaking good. And like moments to where like I cried listening to my own music. And it's so satisfying. And obviously there's still like that piece in my head. I'm like, oh, well, you still need to like make song that like people will like. But at the same time, I'm like, no, like I also really want to like it and be super proud of what I'm making. And now listening to more of what feeds me, I'm really excited for these songs that are in the works and coming out. Yeah, really excited.
A very common fear that people have when they start to get to your crossroad, because your crossroad is very, very normal, right? You start a brand, you start making a song for business purposes or because you want to, whatever. You stay in that lane to help build it. You build the audience, and eventually your heart calls for more. Your soul wants to, spread out, even if it's just a little bit. Some people more than others, but is there a fear that you're going to be alienating people by creating, kind of expanding the Amidy sound a little bit? Like what is that a fear that you deal with? Like what's going on with that?
Totally. Yeah, that's definitely things that like pop in my head. But I think at the same time, I can't let fear control my artist vision. At the same time, I totally get what you're saying, because I agree for a very like extent of that, because I think artists do need to create their own lane, especially at the beginning. They need to create their own tree and root system. They need to grow that tree so that people know what, if this tree grows into other branches, they know what it's still probably going to sound like, just because that tree is sturdy. They know the sonic identity and the types of chord progressions, melodies, drum sounds that this producer likes to use. And so even if they're creating other branches, they're still off of that one tree, and there's similarities between it all, but it's still allowing this tree to grow and experiment and experience different sounds and journeys that it needs to go on for it to become a full tree. Because a singular just stump just going up isn't a beautiful tree. You're going to get that beauty from the experimentation and those branches growing off.
That was beautiful. I've never thought about it like that. So if I'm understanding your analogy correctly, if I don't take it too deep, because I'm going to take it too deep, and so all of a sudden we're going to be chopping down the tree and making paper. What are we doing? Oh my gosh, Wyatt, calm down. And so, but you're saying that's right. So the stump, center, the core, is really like integral. You need that. That's like an absolutely essential part of the tree. But if you looked at a tree and it had no branches, it was just a stump. Oh my gosh, that's so ugly. That's what is that? That's not a tree. It's a post. It's just a thick post. You can't even consider it a tree right now. And so you're right. The branching off is what really complements the inner stump. Stump is such an ugly word, but you know what I'm saying.
But no matter what, I do think that artists need to create their own lane, their own stump per se, to be able to branch off. Because if you don't create that sonic identity and that branding, it's gonna just be like a bunch of branches with no stump. Like, you need that weight, that foundation to build off of. And through the years, I've built that foundation. Now I'm ready to build some more branches.
The one end of the spectrum, the one extreme is like you were saying, it's just a stump with no branches. On the other end of the spectrum, it'd be like what? Like a tree and like one branch is like growing into a bush. And you're like, what is that doing there? What that is completely irrelevant to the tree, my guy.
Yeah.
Or a tree growing into another tree and you're looking at it, you're like, that's what? You know, and so yeah, I get the analogy. I think that's a really, really good analogy. And so now you're at a place in your career, the Amidy story, where you can start branching out. You have more freedom, you have more of the ability to start branching out to make that Amidy tree truly just gorgeous. Am I hearing that right?
Yeah, because I think before I was trying to create those branches and then I'd cut them off myself and not allow them to grow. And now I'm kind of at a point where I'm like, no, like, why not? Let's try experimenting a little bit. Let's become a little evil scientist.
It seems that the industry now is actually more primed for that kind of a tree, right? I feel like when you and I were going to Icon, it was almost promoted to have the least amount of branches as possible. And of course, maybe that was just because we were beginners, we were starting our careers and everything, and you know, that totally makes sense. But it almost seems like the industry at large is actually more primed for that now. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I mean, we can kind of just see a shift in genres in general. I mean, it's a natural kind of, things are always mutating and transforming and evolving in the EDM industry, where certain genres have their rise and fall. They'll hit their peak and then they become stale. Other ones will hit their peak, then become stale. So it's a constant ever moving of genres that become popular. And as we're seeing, a lot more artists are not really sticking to one genre. I mean, you see a lot of artists now that are making trap now more, or house more. Like, it really all kind of, like, the borders have fallen. And I feel like so many artists are doing it now that fans aren't really kind of holding to be like, oh, you make melodic bass, you have to stick with that. Or you make house, you can only stick with that. Like John Summit and Subfocus. And I believe Julia Church is the fantastic vocalist on that song. Amazing song. But who would have thought, like a couple years ago, that strictly house artist was gonna do a house and drum and bass song? Like, things are now mashing up that had never really become popular to mash up before. And I think we're seeing that experimentation a lot more. And I think people are becoming a little bit more accepting of that now. And now it's time to just run with the wind, the wild winds.
I should probably just be thankful that that's happening, but I'm far too curious not to ask this question. Why? What has changed? You know, like, is the culture at large changed? You know, like what? Because I agree with you. I do feel like there is so much more breathing room for different genres. Why? What is, you know, like, do you have any indication of why that's so much more acceptable?
Yeah. So at least my thought process on it is because all of the genres have seen their peak and dipped, and they've all gone through that evolution now to where we're like, okay, well, there's a cycle. There, just kind of like fashion, there's a cycle of like every 20 years, fashion kind of comes back. Now, like the early 2000s, 90s, like loose clothing is more popular. It's the same thing with music, is that certain styles like to come back. Like, everyone's remixing classic songs like from the early 2000s, and they're absolutely blowing up because I think there's kind of like that sound of nostalgia that everyone's kind of wanting. So mixing the new and the old blends both of them together, and kind of like Hannah Montana, you get the best of both worlds with them. That was an awful metaphor.
Hold on. Wait 1 second. You just brought up a core memory for me. Weren't you in Hannah Montana or some Nickelodeon show or something? You were a background guy going crazy in the back. Is that right?
Yeah, I used to do extra work for Nickelodeon. So I was in Victorious and iCarly.
Oh my gosh, dude. Oh my gosh. Okay. Totally like sad twist to this funny memory. Have you watched the documentary of the on-set stuff? Have you seen that?
Yeah, terrible.
Did you experience it? Like, did you see any of that? Did you?
No, I didn't, but it was weird to think that I was in the same room with him.
Yeah. What was his name?
Dan Schneider.
Yeah, Dan Schneider. Oh, what a... Ooh, yucky. We gotta brush our teeth now.
Like, yeah, definitely weird to think that I was in the same room with him multiple times.
Oh, that is terrifying, Nolan. Oh my gosh. Okay, thank you for going on that side quest for me. Anyways, back to what we were talking about. So we have this revolving door. It's going around, just like fashion genres are doing that now. And because of that, the way the Nurko put it is that it's a revolving door. It's a genre revolving door. That has prepped the listeners for much more diversity in music. Is that correct? Is that what you're saying?
I think that's a great way, to put it. The revolving door. Everyone's heard it all before, so now everyone's more familiar with it now. So everyone's familiar with all the genres, so now we can make something new by combining all the familiarity and threading them together.
That's amazing. So do you feel like, is there any big, huge new genre that could come out that could absolutely throw a wrench in the machine and kind of reset us? Because if I take a step back, I think one of the reasons why it was so hard to do this, 10 years ago, was because that's when all of these genres were like being created. You know what I mean? Or at least popularized.
Popularized.
Thank you. That's that Texas education you got there. You can say that out loud. And so there was such hard borders between like dubstep and future bass and house and drum and bass and so on and so forth. Even though these existed in other places, they're becoming Americanized and blah, 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 all the stuff. And so what I'm saying is now that those genres have been around for so long, it's fine to start, dissolving the borders and kind of mixing and mashing and people are more familiar with them. Is it possible that we could see like a version 2 of that where like a whole bunch of new genres come out? We kind of have to like set up the borders again and kind of restart just with like all different genres and names and stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that does make sense. But I don't think those walls are ever going to come back up. I think we're at a place of innovation because I think everyone's, at least a lot of producers that I know, are kind of at this point of like, it's time to innovate. Like I personally, like, I feel like I'm at a place that like I want to innovate. Like I want to do something, like try new things. Like I said, like experimentation. Like I feel like this is the time right now is to innovate and experiment and try different genres that I haven't done before. So I don't think we'll ever see those walls pop up again because I think we've gotten too far advanced into the evolution of EDM.
All right, let's get to the rapid fire questions. All right, we got some questions here for Nolan. Is your middle name Lee?
It is, yes.
No way. I remembered that. Nolan Lee Atkins.
That's good memory right there.
What is an unpopular or controversial opinion you have about the music industry?
I don't know. This isn't like controversial or anything, but I definitely think that vocalists need more just attention that they deserve because I feel like vocalists make the song. Like they can make it or break it. And you can think of like so many hit songs in EDM and the vocalist gets looked over 80% of the time. And that's just like absolutely devastating because what are the parts that you sing along at the shows? The vocals. So not controversial, but I think it's definitely something that needs to be said.
Yep, you're absolutely right. And we're actually going to take a little side quest because if Matthew Steeper listened to this and we didn't talk about the importance of vocals in music, we're going to get a stern text. And so we got to talk about that really quickly. You are a prime specimen of what Matthew Steeper talks about. Here you are, you're a DJ producer, and because you are a vocalist, all of a sudden your ability to connect with a lot more people, your ability to collab with people, your ability to pitch to labels, all of a sudden shoots through the freaking roof, because all of a sudden you provide a service that no one else can replicate. No one else can replicate the Nolan Lee Atkins. I'm still saying your name right? Atkins, not Atkinson, not Atkins, not Anakin Skywalker. And so no one can do that. No one can replicate that, correct? Like you because you are a vocalist, because you incorporate that into music, you have a significant edge to your music. Can you agree with that?
Yeah, most definitely.
And also, because of that, would you also agree that if you work on a song with someone else and they, bring their own vocalist, or you get an external vocalist, because you work so much on your vocals, you're primed to work on other people's vocals. You have so much more experience to work on other people's vocals. Can we agree with that?
Yeah, very much so. I actually help, because I do like mentoring sessions, so I help my students a lot with learning how to deal with vocals, process them, because they're a pain in the butt to deal with. So not the vocalist, mixing vocals. Let me just get that clear. They're hard to mix and take care of. So yeah, understanding how to work with vocals takes a long time to actually do it correctly.
And then the side quest will end after I say this, and Papa Steeper will be very, very happy with his children. Matthew Steeper has a 10-step system for processing vocals. It's amazing. Go to the Goku vocal system. What am I doing? Oh my gosh.
Goku.
The golden vocal system by Matthew Steeper, link down in the description. Thank you for going on that little side tangent. What is one of the most useless things you spent money on for your music career?
Honestly, I would say two things. They just don't work for me. It does not work with my workflow. A Native Instruments machine, like the beat pad, I bought it and I immediately sold it because it did not work with my workflow. I just like clicking things in. Second one, MIDI keyboard. I like clicking things in. It's weird, I know, but I like having the control of clicking things in and not having to deal with quantizing and doing all that stuff. I'd rather just do it right the first time and not have to worry about it. I could play it in, but I don't know. I just don't like to for some reason. I'd rather come up with all my melodies and stuff on my piano that I have outside my studio.
Okay, so you still are using... Well, the piano outside your studio, is that like an actual piano, or is it MIDI?
It's a grand piano.
Okay, so you go and you figure out melodies on the grand piano, but then you come back in and manually input them into your DAW.
Yeah, sometimes I experiment with playing with melodies in the DAW as well. But I do like to have the hands-on experience, because I feel like you feel the emotion behind the melodies with the chord progression just a little bit more than in the DAW.
You're going to light the internet on fire with that comment, my guy, because people love MIDI controllers and swear by them. But I mean, I agree with you. The less stuff that you have to create, the better, in my opinion. I mean, I'm saying that with I literally have a machine back there. That's literally what that is.
And a massive screen.
Oh my gosh, it's the size of a safety raft. It's so big. I'm not here to throw shade on Native Instruments.
No, not at all.
But I'm kind of going to. It's kind of weird. They got their own proprietary software. Yes, you can hook it up to Ableton. It's still kind of weird. I don't know. It's kind of in this weird middle space.
Yeah, because I love all their plugins. They're amazing. I don't know. I got really hooked on the LED lights and the shiny part of it, and I was just like this actually doesn't work with my workflow. And I feel like that works with other people's workflows, and that's totally fine. With EDM, everything has to be so on grid anyways. So you're going to end up quantizing most stuff that you put in to be exactly on grid. So I might as well just click it in, because it's going to take me a ton of tries to get that weird rhythm right or whatever. So I'd rather just do it all by hand.
So the inverse to that question is, what's one of the best things you spent money on for your music career?
Definitely my microphone.
Have you guys heard his voice? Have you done your due diligence by listening to this episode? Have you harmonized with his vocals, singing back his lyrics? What are you guys doing?
Yeah, harmonize. Send me a video of you harmonizing. That'd be amazing.
That's amazing. But I mean, how can you have the trademark Nolan Lee Atkins, Amidy Incorporated LLC vocals, unless you have a beautiful microphone? What microphone do you have, by the way?
I use the Slate Digital modeling microphone. And then I pair it with the Slate Digital VMS-1 preamp, which is specifically built for this microphone so that it models even more accurately to other microphones.
You have good things to say about that microphone? I mean, obviously, duh, because you're using it. But, I mean, it works out for you. You're happy with it?
Yeah, it's been a great microphone. It's a workhorse. It really just kind of does it all. So I've been truly happy. Who knows? Maybe down the road, I'll eventually upgrade. I feel like getting a Neumann one of these days would be kind of the ultimate goal. But honestly, this does the trick. And I've had this for 4 or 5 years and it has just been absolutely killer. I've sang all my songs on it. Shadows, Rise Up, like all the big ones, all the little ones, like they have all been recorded on this little puppy right here.
The next question we got is, what do you envy about the new producers that are coming up right now?
I feel like it's growing up with the technology, like that's accessible now. Because I feel like we had a lot of resources available. Don't get me wrong. We had a ton of resources with YouTube and everything. But I think it's also kind of the thing of like, kids now growing up, like very little kids growing up with an iPad in their hand at a very young age, they're already way more adept than most of us in technology. Like they are so quickly learning technology that it's like crazy second nature. So by the time they get to our age, they'll be twice as knowledgeable in technology and faster than us with all of that, just because they grew up with it at a younger age than us. I feel like that's kind of the advantage, but that's also not an excuse. Like I feel like a lot of producers get very complacent and they're like, okay, well, I'm good. Like, no, like it's a constant learning curve. Like there's never a time that you should not be learning. Like you should always be learning and growing your production chops, any singing chops, like piano, whatever it is, like always be learning. And I should practice what I preach and actually really learn the guitar. I focus all my other learning stuff on like production and like trying to get better at growing those skills constantly. So don't get me wrong, like it's easy to point fingers of like, oh, like, yeah, they're going to have an easier time. And they probably will, just because, again, they grew up with it at an earlier age and they can get into it. It's more accessible at an earlier age too. But that doesn't give an excuse to us not being able to constantly keep learning and growing.
What's a plugin or music production software you can't live without?
I mean, I'm a full-on supporter of Ableton. I think it's the best for production. It's the most efficient. It may not be the most beautiful, but I bet your bottom dollar that it is one of the most efficient DAWs out there, for sure. Like you'll be able to produce and do things in 10 seconds that take 2 minutes on other DAWs. So Ableton all the way. I love my strings. I'm a big fan of strings and orchestral instruments. So Native Instruments, this is your time to shine. Their Essentials orchestral kit, or whatever it's called, is amazing. Love all that stuff. I have to have a piano. I use Emotional Piano. I believe it's by Sound Iron. That one's really good. Sounds really good. Really solid. And then obviously like Serum. Serum is a prime one, and kind of a random one that I feel like no one ever talks about. Spire.
Oh, Spire. What a gem. Tell us more.
Spire. Ooh. If you're looking up like trans packs and stuff like that, they will have some of the thickest super saws you'll ever hear. So very warm, very similar to Silence, but I use both. But I do really like the saws and leads and plucks on Spire. There's just a different tone to it that just feels really good.
God forbid the Ableton overlords absolutely ban you from ever using Ableton again. What's your runner-up? What's the DAW that you would go to if you had to flee the Ableton nation?
I'd probably go back to FL Studio. The beat sequencer was kind of cool. But that was the DAW that I was working on before Ableton, before Icon had me switch over to Ableton, and then I never looked back. So I'd probably go back to FL Studio. I'm not a Logic guy. I've really tried, but it's hard to do anything in that.
With you being a vocalist, do you use the comping in Ableton now, like religiously?
Yeah. And that was like the one big seller that Logic had, is the comping. And there was a few times to where I'd record in Logic and comp and then bounce it over into Ableton. But then, yeah, once they got the comping in Ableton, game over. That was it.
What's plugin or music production software that you think is overrated?
That is overrated.
Yep. Everyone says it's dope, and you're like, is it? Are you sure?
Omnisphere.
Yeah, I'm kind of there too. Tell me more.
It's so expensive, and like when I got it, I was like, oh yes, it's gonna be so sick. I swear I've only like realistically used like 5 sounds in total from Omnisphere that I've been happy with. Like it's all right. It's honestly, I feel like it's better for different genres, for like hip hop, because it has a bunch of those kind of hip hop style sounds. But for EDM, it ain't it.
No, it's not the Sad Boy plugin.
No, not at all.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's a great answer. I think that Omnisphere, 10 years ago, because it's how old now? It's like,
it's
as
been
old as
around.
Us? How old is it?
It was back in the day.
Back in the day, the 90s came in a cereal box.
It was back in the day when software used to come on a hard drive.
Wow, that was a real time of life.
Actually, mine is on CDs.
Those aren't real. Just stop it.
My Omnisphere came on CDs, not even a hard drive, not a solid state.
What do you do with it now? You and the wife go play Frisbee out in the park with the dogs? Is that what you do?
Yeah, just chuck it around, because I can't even use it anymore. Like, I have no drive, like CD drive for it.
Yeah, man, as a coaster, use it as a coaster. It's an expensive coaster.
That's a freaking expensive coaster, $500 coaster.
Oh my gosh, dude, that's crazy. Well, Nolan Lee Atkins, you've been so kind. You've shared so much wisdom with us. We went through so many different topics. It's been absolutely incredible catching back up and hearing all your amazing stuff. This sounds like a pitch. It's not a pitch. I'm shooting off the cuff right here. Anyways, we're leading all this to the big question everyone's been dying to hear. What is one of the best decisions you made for your music career?
Honestly, it was... So, to fill you all in, I started just as a producer. I only made music, and I would have a vocalist on my tracks. I wouldn't sing on them. I truly hated hearing myself sing. That was a hard thing, because for a long time, like, I just hated hearing myself back. And it wasn't until, like, I think 2016, and I'd grown up singing, but it was more like live, like musical theater. Like, and it was always live stuff, and singing in studios and hearing yourself back is always so different than singing live, because you're not hearing that just raw feedback of every single crack and mistake and terrible sound in your voice. And I was obviously still growing up and figuring out my voice in general. But the biggest turn of events and biggest move that I made was choosing to start singing on my tracks. Even though I didn't like hearing myself, I knew it was something that could be a standout kind of edge in my music. And from there, it just took a ton of work and getting very comfortable. And it honestly wasn't like until years down that I actually felt good about hearing myself. I would always cringe showing people my music, because vocals are such a raw instrument, because it's literally you. It's not like you're playing guitar and like you play it poorly and people are like, oh, like that's kind of crappy guitar playing. Like, well, it's a guitar. But if people are like, your vocals are kind of crappy, like, that's you. That's them just dishing on you. And so that was always the scariest part, is like really putting it all out and not being afraid, even though like I was terrified of what I sounded like. I eventually got to that point to where I was strong enough. And so I think with that can kind of influence others is that if you have a way of kind of bringing an edge to your brand and that extra value to the industry, but you're not comfortable with it yet, continue to work on it and grow and continue to push on it, even though it's very uncomfortable and really hard to do. Just keep doing it because you'll eventually get to a point to where you do feel comfortable and it can actually bring a really big value to your brand.
I could not agree more, dude. Absolutely. I can't tell you how many times I've been listening to a song that, it's just a banger, there's no vocals, and I'm like, if there were vocals on this, it just like 40% better immediately. Just like hard check. Are they even good vocals? It doesn't even matter. Just vocals.
Something to like grab your attention.
I know there's a whole biological side to that. We are attracted to vocals, makes us feel safe, makes us feel all the kind of stuff. And so a fantastic answer. And I know that Papa Steeper is so happy with you saying that right now and doing and talking about how important the vocals are and why they matter. And so Nolan, this was fantastic. Is there anything else you want to say? Yes, there's something else you want to talk about. Hold on. It's in my notes. It's right here. You got a little something with Sir William Black and Fairlane. What do we got going on here?
I do. So, yeah, actually, the timing is working out perfectly because today I am releasing a song with William Black and Fairlane, production collab, as well as I always got to hop on the vocals as well. Production it feeds the soul, but also doing those extra vocals just feeds it a little bit extra. So I always got to do a little bit extra with that. So yeah, production collab and singing on it. And it's a sad boy, but we wanted to go hard on this one. So we threw down on the middle, getting a little down and dirty with the little dubstep. It's a really, really good one. I'm really excited for everyone to hear this and just kind of see what the feedback is. I think people are really going to like it. I hope they do. I know I really enjoy it. And that's a big part of it as an artist is making sure that we love our own stuff that we're putting out. And I love this one, so I hope y'all do too.
You're an amazing vocalist. And so is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
I just want to say thank you for having me on. I mean, it's been so long since we did the last interview and it's been a bit since we've talked. So it's been great just getting to have a moment to chat and update each other on what's going on and have this moment together.
Sup? It's like 1,000 degrees outside, but DAW Nation, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Now say it with me. Say it correctly, say it slowly. You know what I'm going to say. We're going to say it together. There is a link down in the description for a free download. Great job. You're getting so good at saying that. Make sure to go get it. I know you haven't gotten it yet. Go get it. Also, if you love this episode, then you are going to love... What? What are you going to love? What are you going to do? What are you going to love? You're going to love the Golden Vocal System from Matthew Steeper. Learn his 10-step vocal production system. It is fantastic. It is amazing. You need vocals. Vocals are the best. You need them in your songs. Level up your music. You just learn from Amidy himself that having vocals is one of the biggest superpowers that you can have in the industry. Down in the description. And DAW Nation, here we are. Once again, not knowing how to end this. Subscribe. That's right. You need to subscribe. You haven't subscribed yet. Go ahead and subscribe. Whatever platform you're on, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. You can subscribe, leave a comment, tick the notification bell, do whatever you need to. Whew, it is so hot in here. It's like 105 degrees today. St. George, Utah, baby. I don't know how to end this.